Alright, so I'm going to move over to the grinder. The sander is great for polishing. Some people have a problem with the grinder. I don't. I actually like the grinder because it gets off a lot of steel quickly. These wheels do tend to round out, so you have to straighten them out or reprofile them every now and then. But I don't have a problem with that. It's just taking off metal, that's all it is. Alright, I'm going to start cutting this out with the grinder right here. You can see it's starting to get hot. And a lot of people ask me, why don't you use gloves? The point is, I do use gloves. But you see this piece right here? It's so close to this wheel that if I wore gloves and it got stuck, it could potentially pull my fingers into that wheel. So anytime there's a table, I don't use gloves. When there's no table, I use gloves. That's just the way I look at it. Alright, so I'm leaving it a little bit thick. Okay. See, that's what it's starting to look like right now. Nice big blade right there. Plenty of room for your hands. I gotta clean this up. Clean this up. It's got all this burr stuff. I gotta start moving it around. As I start to sharpen it, it's gonna get smaller and smaller. That's why I leave it nice and beefy up here. Alright, what I do is I put a piece of blue tape there because when I do my plunge cut, I don't want to go any further back than I have to. So I'm going to start doing this. I mean, I still have to round out, I have to put my choil in here, but this takes the bulk of the work, and it does start shaving it down. So what I like to do is, as I'm working to put the bevel on, because it takes the longest, I do that first. And then I'll come back and make adjustments along my handle and everything else. Okay. Alright, so what I did is I just clamped a piece of scrap wood. Make sure it's straight, and the idea is you want to have straight cuts, long strokes, straight cut lines, and you just want to make it nice and clean. You want to make it look professional. Okay, that's all you're trying to do. A lot of knife makers with their machines, they are a lot better off the cut. Their machines are a lot better at this, and they are a lot better at this because, like I said, I'm still learning the trade. So if you have to go to the file, don't feel bad doing it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just watched a video where a guy does almost everything with a file. He gets all the big beef stuff out with the sander, and then comes back with the file and cleans everything up. And the guy was making a freaking sword. So try doing a file with a sword. Okay, talk about patience. So that's it. So I'm just cleaning it up, watching my edge. Some of these files have cuts on one side, and some of them do not. So this is a really good file. This is by Nicholson. Nicholson makes great files. If you're interested, there's one called, I think there's one out there. It's called Magifile. Really great file, especially for wood. I'm sorry, for steel. All right. So I just want to show you the difference right there. I don't know if you can see it. See how one side is round, one side is square with just a little bit of file work. That's what I'm talking about. That's what you're looking for. Alright guys, so I'm going to get that finger choil going on in there. You could use this method, which I find is very quick. You could use the stones that they have, they have them in the Home Depot. They're just, they're like this, but instead of sandpaper, they're stone. Put them on the edge of the drill. You could use a file. You don't have to use this method, but I find this is quick, and the quicker I get this done, the more I can move on to another knife, send this out to heat treat, and get it back to the customer or the YouTuber in this case. I like to move it back and forth because you'll get a dry spot on the sanding drum, and you don't want to do that. Alright, so I got most of the profile taken care of, and you can see there's a scratch line down the center. Now I learned this trick from another knife maker, but if you try to go center all the way from this side to this side, it's an optical illusion. It'll look like your holes will be off or your rivets will be off. So what you want to try to do is, even though you find that the center of it, try to go a little bit higher to the top of the spine, and that'll actually even it out. It's just an illusion. It's really up to you if you want to do it, but that's where I usually scribe my line. I just use my calipers, and then from there I could put where I want to put my holes, and then the lanyard hole. The lanyard hole is going to be below the actual center line, okay, just because it has, if you look at the handle, it has this droop, and I like that because it fits in my hand very well. Really nice big thick blade right here, going to be great for skinning. Good overall feel knife, and once I put some scales on here, it's going to have a nice beefy handle, able to use. Alright, so I'm set up for my 1/4 inch bit. Okay, I got the punch, I got my vise on. And that's it. Some people say you should use lubricant. I don't, just because it's not necessary all the time. With heavier steels maybe, but this is 5/32 and cuts pretty nice as long as you put steady even pressure and you got a sharp drill bit in there. It'll cut. There you go. Alright, so these are the pins. It's hard to tell right there, but this is a hollow pin. Okay, there's a hollow. This is 1/4. Alright, and then this is 3/16. This is a solid pin. So the solid pin goes to hold the handle, and the hollow pin goes to go through the handle so you can put a lanyard in there. Alright, so two different types, two different drill bits. Alright, so I got my 2 holes for my pins, and I got my lanyard hole. Alright, so I'm just going to file all the burrs off, and that's it. Alright, so I got 2 pieces of white oak. They're about a 1/4 inch. Really easy stuff to work with, so what I'm going to do is just trace out the design. I'm going to go over the choil. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It really depends on how I feel that day, I guess. But I want it to have a nice handle. Alright, so you clamp your piece, and then you got to drill the holes with the drill press just like you did before in the steel. Not really hard to do. Alright, once the holes are drilled, okay, then what you want to do is use your sander and just burr all this down, get all this stuff out as much as you can. Alright, so once you got all the wood profiled, you got to put the pins in. Okay, sometimes the pins are a little bit tough to get in, so what I do is I just run them across the wheel. Couple passes, and that's it, and then they'll fit right in there. You don't want to do too much. You want to make sure there's some tightness in there, because you want them tight. Alright, you don't want any play in those things. Alright, so what I'm doing is I'm switching to this belt sander because it gives me some play here. And what I want to do is I want to start cutting, now that I got it all profiled and everything else, I want to start cutting out some grooves so it feels really good in the hand. Okay? Alright, so I got it to the point where it gets, you know, you don't want to put too much off because then you got to redo the whole handle, but it's starting to feel good. I just want to knock down some of the edges, and all I do is I use one of my old used belts from the sand block, from the sanding thing, and just, you know, start working it down, rubbing it off. You know, knocking off all the hard edges, because you don't really want hard edges. And then, you know, if you see something that might be too thick, too hard, too strong, whatever, you know, work it down, and then, you know, this is wood. So wood's a little bit different material if you're going to use it, but the same principle applies. You could always take more off, but you can't put it back. And believe me, when you get to this stage, you don't want to make another handle. Alright, so I got all the tape off. Okay, I'm going to do one side for a little bit, and I'm going to show you what I do. This is, again, those sponge things. I think it works excellent. Try to keep it as straight as possible. Alright, because they are sponges, they sit on the table really nicely. Alright, I'm not trying to arc the blade in any way. I'm just trying to get it down to like an even knife, even scratch. Like I said, 5/32. Really not that thick. High convex grind. Okay, so you'll be able to use it for a very, very long time. Really comfortable in the hand. Sorry, my hands are filthy. I just finished making this thing. But this will be available on the website if you guys are interested.